Hiya! Welcome back to Fika. So this is a bit of a different video, for me at least. I've seen these all over YouTube, and I thought it would be fun to do a little speed build. I am not the best at terraforming, and I'm not the best creative either, so I actually pulled inspiration from, I believe, their channel is called Wild Rain TV. I believe that's what it's called, but I will link the video that I took inspiration from, as well as their channel in the description. So go ahead and keep an eye out for that. But yeah, there should be some calming music playing in the background, and I think I'm just gonna do a bit of an informal voiceover for this video, so here we go. I was asked in the Discord to kind of relay my experience that I've had with Animal Crossing over the years, so I'll go ahead and kind of walk you through how I got into the game, what it does for me now, and why I plan to continue playing it in the future as a nearly 24-year-old. So Animal Crossing Wild World was my first game. We actually didn't have a GameCube in the house when I was a kid, so when I got the Nintendo DS, the only game I got with it was Nintendogs, because back then when you bought the original DS, it came with Nintendogs. So I had the Chihuahua version of Nintendogs, and then Animal Crossing Wild World came out, and I wasn't really aware of it. You know, I was only 9, almost 10 at the time. But one of my good friends had told me about this game, and I watched her play for a little bit at her house one day, and I was like, oof, that's a fun game. So I mentioned it to my dad, and he said, oh, I was thinking about picking that up. And I was like, oh, sweet. So he brought it home from work one day, and I mean, the rest is history, really. I played it day in and day out until, man, I was probably 13 or 14 years old. I played it for years, and I never got tired of it. I remember I was so young, and I didn't really know that, like, game FAQs online or game forums, or I didn't really know that there were wikis for games. Wikis? Anyways, I didn't really know that those existed, and I had never figured out how to, like, have friends over, so my friend had to teach me, how to connect over. Back then it was just if your DS was next to another DS, it would connect. I think offline Animal Crossing is similar now, but anyways, back then, in order to get the final upgrade of the shop, or Nookingtons, I still remember, you had to have one of your friends buy something from your Nook's Cranny, so it was kind of like an incentive to get people, connected through the platform. Anyways, I still remember that, and I'd had the game for 2 years, and I had Nook Mart, I think that was the second upgrade. Nook Way, maybe, was the shop upgrade before Nookingtons. Anyways, I had Nook Way, or whatever that shop was called, for years before I actually got the final upgrade, because my friend was like, oh, we've never connected, do you have Nookingtons? And I was like, what's Nookingtons? And she had, like, different hairstyles, and back then you had to have Nookingtons to have the Shampoodle. They had that in New Leaf, I believe. Shampoodle was still a thing, so that's how you changed your hair. Much different from now, where you just buy, like, hairstyles through the Nook Mileage program, which I still don't fully understand. I feel like maybe they released New Horizons a bit quickly, so they didn't get a chance to integrate all of the NPCs, like Shampoodle. I don't remember what her name was, either. My memory is just the absolute worst, so maybe I'm not the right person to talk about my old Animal Crossing experiences. But yeah, I played that day in, day out. I remembered the main way that I made money, or bells, is actually still the same. I would just have a bunch of foreign fruit trees, and I called them my orchards, right? I would pull all my fruit off the tree, and I still remember to this day, I would sell all of my fruit for like 236,000 bells, so I got really excited when it was fruit tree day. But it took ages, because back then, you didn't have pocket upgrades, and items didn't stack And if I remember correctly, your pocket space was 15, I think. So I would shake 5 trees, sell it, and that was it. And then you'd have to go back and you'd have to keep running to and from the shops. And now I only have to empty my pockets, I think, twice when I pull fruit trees off for... That's a weird way of saying that. When I, do my orchard fruit selling. Man, my words are escaping me today. But anyways, now the fruit stacks, and that's very helpful. But yeah, I have very fond memories of Animal Crossing. When City Folk came out, we did have a Wii, and I did get it. And I enjoyed the game, but I think I was a bit older, and my attention span for the game was a bit shorter, because City Folk was very, very similar to Wild World, except there were a couple more holidays and a couple more things you could do, but it really wasn't that different. So I did play City Folk, but not much. Honestly, my brother played it more than me. So yeah, Wild World, definitely. I think even to this day, I probably still have far more hours in Wild World than I currently do in New Horizons. But I think that might change because there's so much to do in New Horizons that I think I'd be hard-pressed to get bored of it. I'm still not bored of it. I have been taking a few more breaks lately, but that's only because Jack and I are A, in the middle of moving, B, our Wi-Fi has been shut off, and C, uni's about to start up, and for me, this next year is the beginning of my clinical phase, which means I'm nearly halfway to being a vet because my final year is just vet work in clinics and on rotations. So this next year, I have been told, is notoriously the most difficult year that anybody has ever had. So I will be academically drowning this year. So I have been prepping myself as well as I can in lieu of that. So I will admit, not played a lot of New Horizons lately, but I intend to pick it up once I fall more into a routine with university and whatnot. As far as New Leaf goes, I played New Leaf. I had a 3DS. I actually don't remember asking for a 3DS, but back then my dad just assumed that I wanted the newest Nintendo gear, and I did, but New Leaf came out, I want to say, it came out at a very inopportune time for me when my attention span for games like Animal Crossing was at an all-time low, and I started undergrad, I want to say, shortly after, maybe? Again, my memory's very bad, but either it was the tail end of high school when I thought I was busy. My goodness. At the time, I thought that high school was so much work. To be fair, I was an IB student in high school, and a Running Start student, so I did have a lot on my plate in high school, but my goodness, university hit me like a tornado, and vet school even more so. I definitely wish that I had taken more advantage of the times in my life where I didn't feel like such a busy bee all the time. But anyways, relating that back to New Leaf, I didn't feel that I had the time for it. So the whole daily chores, daily everything, it felt a bit overdone for me as well because it didn't feel like anything new or anything exciting. It just felt like Wild World with a couple more accoutrements or like a couple more, garnishes. It was a special version of Wild World where you were the mayor and you got to very carefully place certain, what were they called? Town works projects or something like that. And you still couldn't place stuff outside, and they're just, I don't know, I kind of liked the swimming. I kind of liked how they wrote Tortimer off and had him retire so he went and lived on the island as well. I thought that was fun. But at the end of the day, it didn't really capture my attention, so I didn't really play New Leaf that much either. But clearly, when New Horizons was coming out, I was so excited because I had been through, my goodness, they announced New Horizons a really, really long time ago, now that I think about it. I feel like they announced it, what was it, 2 years before it actually came up? 2 years before they actually released it? Something like that. Oh, and I've been waiting for it. And I think that is mainly due to the fact that I am so stressed now with uni and whatnot that I was seeking out comfort in old routine. So the idea of having an escape from my daily routine every day to go play Animal Crossing again was very appealing. And that definitely came true because, I mean, I guess I can't really speak to how it actually fits in with that life yet because life hasn't been normal since the game came out. But I anticipate it to be a great help in keeping my stress levels down. I need to go get some water. I'll be right back. Okay, that's me back there. I didn't realize how not exhausting just talking to yourself for 10 minutes straight is, but at least it dries your throat out a lot. I'd never noticed that before. Anyways, so yeah, life hasn't really been normal since Animal Crossing came out, but I anticipate, or New Horizons at least, I anticipate this game to help me out a lot during normal university life and day-to-day life, because I really need something to take my mind off of things. It used to be swimming for me. I used to just go swimming every day in undergrad, but that was actually more of a method to study more, because I found that if I studied for 3 hours, went swimming for an hour, and then came back, I was actually more productive afterwards. So maybe Animal Crossing will be that for me, because there's not really a swimming pool nearby. But anyways, yeah, so y'all asked for me to kind of talk about my experiences with Animal Crossing, and this is pretty much it. And honestly, you can go back and watch all of my experience with New Horizons if you're really that curious, because it's all up there. I've recorded from the minute I got it to now, pretty much. So yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and answer a couple of questions now. I posted in Discord and on the community tab in YouTube. So yeah. So Krellington asks, which game is your favorite? And I would have to say, for nostalgia's sake, Wild World wins. But for, like, objectively better game, New Horizons wins. Because there's just so much more you can do. He also asks, pardon me, he or she, or neither, asks, if you could add to New Horizons, what would you add? And, Brewster, obviously, I've said this time and time again. Brewster, give me Brewster, please. I miss him. I need him. Please. Okay, and Kai asks, what's your least favorite personality type? When I was a kid, I probably would have said Snooty, because I just thought that they were so mean. But now, I think probably Peppy. They don't seem real nice, they just seem fake nice. You know what I mean? As you get older, you start to learn that nice isn't always nice. She also asks, if you could pick a new animal to be a villager type, what animal would you pick? That's a fantastic question. I feel like we're definitely missing ferrets, and I love ferrets. They are fantastic little balls of sunshine, so I feel like they would fit in quite well, but I'm trying to imagine what their design would look like. I guess maybe you could make them look sort of like the otters, but with pointier noses like the deer, but I think that would be quite difficult to mock up, so I don't know, ferrets. Ferrets if it's done well, but not if it's scary like the anteaters. Kai also asks, if you and Jack were villagers, what animal would you be? And what would your personalities and catchphrases be? I feel like I would definitely be... I want to say I would be a deer, but I'd probably actually be... I don't know. Maybe a penguin? Because I like swimming so much, and I wish I could fly, but I can't. So probably a penguin for me. And my catchphrase would probably be something coffee related. Like venti. I don't know, if we're going Starbucks sizes, maybe like a espresso? I don't know. I'm not that clever, I'm not that creative. If Jack were to be a villager, I feel like he would definitely be like a squirrel, or I don't know, what's a funny one? He's just a funny guy. So he really likes the alligators. Maybe he'd be an alligator. They're kind of a goofy character, right? We'll say Jack would be an alligator. And I feel like his catchphrase would be something Scottish, like in it. Like I-N-N-I-T, in it, or something like that. Because he says that a lot. He'll be like, sunny in it. Our personalities. I feel like I would either be cranky or sisterly, probably. I'm very blunt. I need my coffee. And I'm generally quite sleepy and stressed out. So, cranky, probably. Yeah, definitely cranky. Jack, I feel like, would be... I want to say lazy, but I'm only saying lazy because the lazy characters are the ones that make me laugh with everything that they say. So maybe he would actually be, like, smug, maybe, because he jokes all the time and he's very confident and very, outward, but I don't know. Yeah. I would probably be cranky or sisterly, and he would probably be lazy or smug. Or a combination of both of those. Kai also asks, what's your favorite and least favorite villager? My favorite villager is Bones. I still haven't found him yet, sad days. And my least favorite villager is Rasher. He terrifies me, because, a bacon rasher? And he's got a big cut on his face? Just not a fan. What's your favorite and least favorite animal type? I think my favorite has to be either the deer or the dogs. I just think they're so cute. And my least favorite is probably the anteaters. Yeah, the anteaters. Okay, so this is on the YouTube community page, and that can of Pringles asks, do you try to reply to as many comments as you can? Yes, I do generally try to reply to as many comments as I can. I generally won't reply to comments from videos older than my most recent one, if that makes sense. I will from time to time if I see something funny pop up, but I do read every comment. Trust me. I'll just wake up in the morning and just read through comments, and you guys are so wholesome, and it definitely makes my day. Jim Bell asks, what's the reason for why you want Bones so bad? It's probably mostly a nostalgia thing. Honestly, he was my favorite villager when I was a kid. I've had him in every town and or island since. And, well, I guess not island. That was silly of me to say. I haven't had him yet. But I have had him in every other game previously. I would literally reset my town until I got him. Sometimes it would take days. It, literally would take me hours, and that's just what I did. But I didn't for this game because I wanted to do a sort of, honest first impression. But yeah, probably mostly for nostalgia's sake. Kiki Plays Games asks, do you have any pets? And if you don't, have you ever? Oh my goodness, I have had just about every pet you can possibly have, within reason, of course. No wild animals that shouldn't be kept as pets, only domesticated pets. I grew up with dogs, cats. I eventually convinced my parents to let me have ferrets. I have hand-reared injured birds before, like pet birds, like a cockatiel or an Indian ringneck parakeet. And yeah, we also had uromastyx, like reptiles growing up, fat-tailed geckos, leopard geckos, all that jazz. I currently have a dog. Her name is Finch. She's lovely. When I finally get an Instagram for this, I'm sure you will see plenty of her. Starry You asks, any advice for an American wanting to move to the UK? Well, I lucked out because I go to university here, so that actually means that I'll be halfway to British citizenship by the time I graduate, because I believe it's 10 years permanent residence for a British citizenship, or you just find yourself a Jack. Hopefully that ends well. Just kidding. Well, I mean, hopefully it does end well, but you know what I mean. I would just say that you have to make yourself marketable, so you have to have desirable skills that can get you hired or can get your visa sponsored. So when I do graduate, vets are in high demand pretty much anywhere, which is one of the reasons why I stuck it out for this career. So I will be able to find work here or in New Zealand or in Canada or in the States. So from what I understand, for the process of immigration, you have to be like an essential kind of worker, if that makes sense. They need to need you, or they need to want you. But if you're looking to be here temporarily, I believe there are working holiday visas where you could work in a hostel, see if you like the culture, and then that might open some more doors for you. You can always, there's far better people than me to ask this question, honestly. I just got into uni over here, and I figured that this was the best way to ensure that I could stay working abroad. So that's why I went for it. So if I'm being honest, my personal advice would be go to uni here, but that's quite expensive, so make sure you want to dedicate your life to it. Well, that got heavy, didn't it? Carly K asks, what's your favorite real-life animal? As far as animals to work with, I love birds of all types. I love parrots. I love how smart they are. But to be fair, they're a pain in the rear end to work with. I love cows. I adore dairy cows. They are such wonderful, cheeky, curious little puppies. So, cows? Maybe? That's asking a vet student or a vet what their favorite animal is cruel. Okay, so Nikki Jensen asks, how do you stay motivated to study during this hard time? I know vet school's hard. Wishing you the best on your journey. That's very wholesome. Thank you very much. Staying motivated. Well, if I'm being honest, for March, April, and June, I really didn't stay motivated. I really delved into YouTube, and that took up most of my attention. And I lost the motivation to study because I felt like our exams were canceled. We have an online exam coming up in September, but even that, it's not the same, and it's formative, it's not summative, so it doesn't count. And honestly, that kind of took away a lot of my drive. Now that uni is starting back up, and as that time approached, I started just to get stressed about how unprepared I felt for clinical phase. So I have stepped up my game, and honestly, I want to say that it's like this, self-contained desire to succeed, but really it's just pressure, and not wanting to set myself up for failure, if that makes sense, because the first couple of years is foundation phase, where you basically learn this is how the body works. And I left foundation phase, I felt pretty confident in my understanding. But at the end of the day, I was like, I don't know how the body works. I mean, I do more than your average Joe probably, but I had loads of imposter syndrome, and I was just like, I don't deserve this. So I started studying old material so that I could sharpen my knowledge so that I'd be more prepped for clinical phase. It was purely strategic. I just knew better because at this point, I have learned that procrastination is the enemy of success, and honestly, we have one exam per year here, spread over about 3 or 4 days, spread over a week at least, and you can't cram for 6 modules and 1 exam. You can't do it. It's impossible. So I learned that for my own health and well-being and my sanity, I just had to. It's just something I gotta do. And there's also a lot of motivation in the fact that I'm going to be responsible for the health and welfare of many tiny beings' lives in the future. So I find a lot of motivation in wanting to be a good veterinarian and wanting to be knowledgeable and wanting to be prepped. Because I've heard that the first year of being a graduated vet is extremely stressful. And I want to make that as easy for myself as possible. And that means being as knowledgeable and as prepared as possible. So there you go. I want to be a good vet. Good vets gotta study. Good vets gotta know their stuff. So fingers crossed when I get there. I know my stuff. And then Liza de la Cruz. Hi, Liza. She asks, how are you? Genuinely checking up on you. We are living in tough times. Yes, we are, aren't we? Honestly, we are very lucky and very privileged where we are. Both of us are students, and I'm funded by student loans, and Jack is shortly going to be funded by a stipend. So we are not falling on financial hard times, and we recognize how lucky we are for that. We have our health. All of our families have their health for the most part. And so we're feeling very lucky with the current situation that we're in. So we're great. Honestly, we're doing great. We've adapted. We're just living in a strange time, and we're just holding out for the end. Okay, so I'm actually gonna wrap up this voiceover here. After I chop it up, it might not be quite as long as the video itself, but hopefully it's close. I just wanted to note that I apologize if my speed build skills aren't great. I've never done one before. I hope it was okay-ish to follow. I hope it didn't make you sick watching how quick it was. Please let me know if you have any suggestions in case I do another one of these in the future. I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful day, and I will see you next time. Okay, bye!